to the Between the Pages podcast. Today we're going to be talking about readers are leaders and why books shape your future.
Yeah, I'm Jimmy. This is Sarah. This is our podcast. Thank you for being here today. Recently in one of the presentations we made, we put in a quote by Charlie Tremendous Jones, and I actually met the guy in Nashville or Memphis, I think. I've been a lot of places, but his quote is basically along the lines of, the only difference between you today and you 5 years from now is the books you read and the people you know. And so usually what happens is the books you read, those wind up influencing you on the people you know. And so if you're in a certain position where you are today and you want to be somewhere different, then you need to change the things you read. And what better book to read than the Bible? I mean, it's got all the good things in it, And so stories of trials and tribulations and overcoming adversity and whatnot. It's a good book, but that could be something that's a little bit beyond a 3-year-old. So what you have to do is you have to start out with simple things, and you have to start out with simple topics. Why you want to tell the truth, or why you wouldn't want to lie.
Well, but even if it's a complex topic or art, it gets into their subconscious and they remember it.
Yeah.
Like there was a lady, I think it was a podcast I was listening to, or maybe it was a book, and she was talking about how she, as an older teenager, young adult, she went to an art museum and she knew these art pieces, and she was like, "Wow, why do I know that?
Yeah.
I know this art, and I knew who the artist was." And then she had gone back home, and her mom had had little paintings that, even though she couldn't get the real paintings, she would get them out of calendars and stuff.
Right.
And she was like, "Oh, wow, yeah." And her mom talked about it, and it was like throughout her whole childhood, it was just always there. Even if it wasn't like, "Oh, this is the lesson for today," it was just there in the house, constantly being seen, and it just becomes a part of your memory.
Yeah. Your children, they see everything you do, and they listen to every conversation you have, and they internalize all of that.
Yeah.
And so they're forming their opinions about who they are and what they're going to be based on you.
Yeah.
At some point in the future, they're going to substitute you with someone else.
Yeah.
And so that's the gist of the quote is, if you're teaching someone to read certain types of books, then they're most probably going to gravitate to those types of people. And so that's why you want to start that when they're young, in their youth, and it develop into, like you say, this lady, she was seeing art and going, "I know that," and it was like, when she got home, her mom explained to her, "Oh, well, this is why you know that," and so, but you don't even know what's going on. And this is why screen time is kind of something that should be monitored, because the kids will be watching the screen and seeing something.
Passive screen consumption versus the reading.
And you're not there.
Yeah.
You're not there, but they see it, and it gets in their subconscious or whatever. And the subconscious is a pretty powerful thing if you think about it. I mean, in general, I believe there are absolutes. There are a lot of people who don't believe in absolutes, but I believe truth is an absolute, and I believe the Bible contains the truth, and it's absolute, and so forth. Well, if your children's friends believe in something that's, truth is relative, then that can be a problem. But if you already have established, that, oh no, it's an absolute truth, this is what it is, and so they don't succumb to that. And I guess the point of all that is really you got to start at a young age. And so, but you want to also, I make decisions, you make decisions, all the people here, we all make decisions all the time based on the information that we have. And sometimes the information we have isn't complete. And sometimes your point of view, decision-wise, would be different if you had more information. And so, I think, well, recently I was reading, about a book by a guy named Connor Sneed, I think, and it was about the meaning of life. And it's a pretty interesting book. It explores a lot of medical things, but one of the things that he presented was, and everyone has bought into the concept of the living will, and that everybody should have one of those, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I even heard recently, like, you really should have, like, once your kid turns 18, you need to, I mean, I guess as long as you have a good relationship with them, but you need to get them a living will.
Yeah.
Because once they're 18, like, and before they're necessarily married, if anything happens, sometimes, the hospitals will let the parent make decisions and whatever, but a lot of times there's, court and all these different issues.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing.
And nobody really thinks about that. You think about, oh yeah, when I'm like 50, I need to get a will, but it's like, really, you need to get one like sooner than that.
Well, okay, and so this is something that you could consider, because the what gets presented is exactly the argument or the scenario that you just described. And, what most people fail to think about is, oh, okay, they're sitting there, they're thinking about themselves, and they're thinking about, oh, okay, well, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? And, they come up with something in their mind. It's all part of a fabrication. It's all part of their imagination. And they go, well, if that were to happen, this is what I would want to have happen. Well, you can't predict the future. You can't determine what it is that's going to happen to you, whether or not you're going to be, what state you're going to be in. Okay? This is why, and a lot of people are for, doctor-assisted suicide. The patient has usually been given some kind of prognosis or some determination that is not favorable. And so now, what state of mind is the patient in? Are they in a state of depression? Are they some other mental
or shock
problem?
Or whatever?
And so, are they really qualified to make those decisions? And then the question then becomes, well, what about the person who will be administering the end of life cocktail, if you will? Are they in? What's their mental state?
Yeah.
Like you say, you go to a judge. What's the mental state of the judge who's going to hand down a decision about you in a medical situation? As a person, as a sound thinking person, right now, I'm thinking, well, I don't really know that I want to turn those decisions over to someone else. I don't know that I want to have someone else make it, because I don't know what their mental state is. I don't know what my mental state will be at the time. And, if you were to generate one of those type devices, and I don't know, you'd have to contact a lawyer to determine whether or not this is feasible or not. But anyone who would be making any types of decisions about end of life for me or my children or someone, I would want their mental health evaluated before that happens. Because, people have all kinds of biases. They may want to end your life just because they don't like your type of people. They may have all kinds of reasons.
I've heard that actually, like, supposedly, and it's just hearsay, it's just what you hear in the world, but, like, if you have organ donor on your license,
they might expedite the process.
They might not help you as much as they would to save you, because they just want your organs.
Yeah,
for other people.
Right, and there's a lot of people, and that kind of thing. There's a market for that. Yeah. Okay, and so that kind of thing goes on. And so the thing is to reading that, I was like, oh, so I actually have one that I'm thinking about. I'm undoing. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to get rid of it because I now have more information.
Yeah.
I now have a different point of view. And I wouldn't have that point of view if I weren't a reader, because you can pretty much count that no one's going to present that information to you, except maybe here on this podcast, for you to know.
Yeah.
And, and that's the whole thing. When you're looking at information, when you're reading
especially when you're doing stuff online, because the internet world just gives you what they think you want to hear.
Right.
They like categorize you and put you in the algorithm, and they just flush you with things that already align with what you are. instead of letting you branch out outside the box.
Right, exactly. And then my hat's off to Scott Adams, Dilbert creator. He's sitting there, he's saying, okay, read this article, and he's talking exactly, it's called funneling, I guess. They know something about you. They know there's a lot of data that's been collected about you. And so when you go into the search engine, it's already calculating where it's going to send you to. Okay, but when you finally get to the spot where it sends you to, when you read the article that you read or the information you read, well, look who sponsored it.
Yeah.
Look who's behind that information. Yeah, because that's going to help you determine, this really is a problem, or no, that industry has a point of view, and that industry wants to make sure that their point of view gets presented. And you as a reader, you as an informed person, have to do that because no one else is going to do that for you.
Yeah, and reading stretches your imagination, your empathy, and vocabulary. And so that's why you want to keep reading more.
Right.
And
I mean, it's a difficult thing.
Readers are leaders.
Well, I mean, we have farms, and I have empathy for the animals that we have here because sometimes, it comes down to it's the end of the life. They've lived a long time, and the prevailing thing is the animal's suffering, put it down, that kind of thing. And I understand that, but these are people. They're not animals. And so the thing is you have to always have a hope that a healing could occur or a rejuvenation. And it's kind of interesting how much medical science changes. And there's a idiom, if you will, saved by the bell. Y'all know what that means? Do you know what it means when somebody says saved by the bell? Well, it used to be they would bury you.
Oh, yeah.
And they would put a bell in the coffin, a string in the coffin attached to a bell above ground. And if they heard that bell ringing, they knew, we buried somebody who was still alive. And they go dig you up, and you'd be saved by the bell. And though that idiom has gone on to become something different now, that a close call or some other event whatever. But medical science changes, and so what is perceived to be someone who's not alive today, who is in a vegetative state or some kind of thing of that nature that there's no recovery for, 10 years from now there could be a complete cure for that, and you would have shortened your life prematurely. It's difficult.
It's like that one family member we have that he was born and they said, no, he's not going to make it. He's not going to be able to walk. Not that he couldn't walk, but he's not going to make it that long to be able to walk.
Yeah, what was he had a disease when he was born?
I think he was like his kidneys were like on the outside of him or something.
Okay.
Something it was an intestinal thing that was not right. And so they did the surgeries and stuff on him. But it just was always, something. They told him so many times, you're not gonna
make it past 5.
Make it till 1. You're not gonna make it till 5. You're not gonna make it till 18.
Right.
You're not gonna be able to have a child. You're not gonna make it till 30. And then I think he passed away at like 50 or 51.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, and because it was a married in family member, even in the 8 years or so that I knew him, they told him you only have a year left.
Right.
And so it was just like, how do you just tell someone that?
Yeah.
And they were wrong every single time.
Well, and the thing is the question becomes, do you believe it?
Yeah.
And
I don't think he did.
Well, fortunately for him, there were people around him who didn't believe that, because he wasn't in a position at 1 year old to decide I need to have this surgery, and at 5 years old I need to have this procedure. And so the thing is, why would you? But eventually he does become of age, and he wants to make his own decisions. Yeah. And when you sign a document like that, you're turning that decision-making power over to someone else.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of off the topic. But if you don't read, then you won't know.
Yeah.
And if you don't have information, or you're
just gonna believe what you're told,
or you can't read, if you can't comprehend, they're going to slide paperwork in front of you, and you're just going to sign because that's what you don't even comprehend what you're signing. It's not in your language even, or it's not a language you understand.
That thing we read the other day, and it was like they said the words, but they made them different, and so it was like, it sounds good, but it was not good. And
Exactly.
it's like you have to be able to slow down and read and be able to understand and comprehend, not just sign on.
Right, yeah, and it's a touchy subject, it's a personal subject, and so what people read and what they listen to and what they watch. But if, you want to be a leader in your career field that you're in, you're going to have to read all the latest technical manuals or the latest information associated with whatever it is you do.
Yeah, like even I said with the PowerPoint this morning, it's like, you guys always come to me for stuff, but it's like when I learned PowerPoint, it was like, what, the 2007 version of PowerPoint or something? And, I've gone along as it's gone along, but the 2025 PowerPoint has so many more things than it used to.
Right.
Than even 5 years ago.
And so as from my perspective, and from your point of view, you're young and you're seeking new information and you're learning and you're doing things. From my perspective, oh, well, we already know all there is to know about that. No. When you told me about the new PowerPoint and the new features, I'm like, well, I'd like to know more about that. I'd like to learn more. So if you're the type of person who wants to know more, then you're going to take action on what we're talking about. You're going to go research some of this stuff and look it up for yourself and that kind of thing. And, you'll be a better person for it. Other people, I don't have the time for do it. Well, then you'll just be at the mercy.
That's what I said. I was like, I tell people that all the time. It's like, sure, sign me up. I'm always willing to learn. Maybe you're not gonna spend a bunch of money or because sometimes you sign up for a class and they're like, oh, hey, we want more money. But sometimes it's like
always want more money, right?
Sometimes it's just like a nice webinar or whatever. You can just learn. Like I just signed up for one in like 2 weeks. Right. And it's like a 4-hour class, but it's like, it's stuff that we use regularly. So, you have to just always be learning.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you make decisions based upon the information you have. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. If you don't have
the information, you might not make the right decision.
Right, and you may make what you think is the best decision to be made. Yeah. But in life, if you actually pursue more information and you get a new little piece of data that's like, oh, that was the wrong decision. Well, you have to be, person enough, if you will, to go out and say, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I didn't know what I was doing. I need to change that.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people can't humble pie that. They can't admit that they actually made a mistake. And I'm thinking right now, I made a mistake in some areas and I need to correct that.
Yeah.
And I want to share that information with other people because someone shared it with me. But, it may be well received and it may not. There are certain societal activities that are deemed okay that could easily be resolved with a simple phraseology. If you believe in the sanctity of life like I do, then just assign patients' rights to the unborn, and that's the end of that little thing that's going on right now. Because now it'll be a patient and fall under the Hippocratic Oath you have to do everything within your power to save the patient's life, not end it. And that's easy. Go to the voting box and find a candidate that believes like you believe and flip that lever for a candidate who's going to go and pass legislation establishing patients' rights for the unborn. And that's all there is to it. Because you as a person walking around have all kinds of patients' rights because you've been born, and the unborn don't have those, and so that will fix that. That'll be the end of that. That'll take care of that, and it's just a matter of getting that kind of information. Though you have to be able to read the books and form opinions.
And comprehend it.
And comprehend it.
So
most people are not not reading those types of that type of literature, and so they can't make informed decisions. So, yeah.
So, we want to challenge you to start with a one night a week family reading time and go from there because readers are leaders.
Yeah, and instilling your children early to be a reader. Yeah. In order to be a reader, you'd have to understand the words. instead of just, hearing words spoken to you on a video or something. You'd actually have to be able to look at them and go, RED, that's a color. Oh, that's what that word is, and that kind of stuff, and then go from there.
So we will see you next time on Between the Page Podcast. Like, subscribe, and share, and follow.
Thank you very much.